Chapter 6. Creating your own business opportunities. Some people spend months or years dreaming about being self-employed and waiting for the right opportunity to arise. Others think they see the opportunity bandwagon passing by and jump on it without considering where it is going, what it will cost, or whether or not they really enjoy the ride. As you can imagine, neither approach to starting a business is particularly successful. To build a profitable business, you have to learn the business and then put yourself in the driver's seat and forge ahead. Here is a brief look at what it takes to create a variety of businesses. What do I need to start a word processing or secretarial service? Word processing businesses are among the easiest to start, but due to competition, it may take time and effort to get the business going. To get started, you will need a microcomputer, word processing software, and a laser printer or other type of printer that will print smoothly form, numbers, and letters. You will need business stationery and other office supplies. You may also need an impact printer, one that has pens or a wheel that actually strikes a platen with a mechanism called a tractor feed for pulling continuous form computer paper and labels through the printer. Continuous form paper is the paper that has holes along the side, allowing it to be fed through a printer continuously, and perforations that enable it to be separated into single sheets after printing. A dedicated word processor, a computerized typewriter that only does word processing and has built-in programming, is not a good substitute for a computer and often will be no easier to learn to use than a word processing program on a microcomputer. If you are working in a storefront location rather than from home, at some point you might want to add copy machine and fax services for your customers. A photocopy machine is also handy for your own use too, but probably shouldn't be purchased until after you can pay for it from the business profits. Once you buy and learn to use equipment and software, your toughest job is going to be attracting a steady stream of customers. You may be able to get started by making a lot of phone calls and using personal contacts. But sooner or later, most secretarial services find they need to use some form of print advertising. That advertising may be a small display ad in the yellow pages, an ad that an inch or so big on the page, for instance, or an ad that appears regularly in the classified section of weekly newspapers or shoppers. Others find they do well by targeting a niche market and advertising in publications bought by the special market. Someone who likes to type academic papers might advertise in college or university newspapers, for instance, while someone who wants to do typewriting or transcript for medical or legal professionals would want to advertise in local journals or newsletters that lawyers or doctors in the area can read. Advertising won't work miracles, however, and it also has the frequent to pay off. It has to be frequent to pay off. Pricing of the actual services you prefer will need to be competitive. Depending upon where you live, the price may run from $12 to $20 an hour for word processing. Typesetting, resume typing, and related work, if you have the software and experience to do a good job, can usually be billed at a higher rate. You do have to check the going rate in your area and keep an eye on costs to stay competitive. Once you find customers, it is important to provide quality work. Joan Kunspich, who ran the Johnson New York company JVK and Associates for 16 years before merging it with his son's printing company, RJ Letho, advises start small enough and do what you do well. You can also add services, but if you start with your site set too high and end up doing a shoddy or a mediocre job, you'll soon be out of business. One bad job or that is done poorly can cost you several new ones. What does it take to start a money-making newsletter? To publish a successful newsletter, you need to start out with a very clear focus of who your potential customers are and what kind of information you can provide for them that is different from what they are now getting from other sources. Once you know the focus, you will need to decide who will write the articles for each issue. Will you do the writing yourself? Pay freelancers to write? Hire a writer? Will you have enough information to publish regularly and keep readers interested? What format will you see? Will the newsletter be set up with 2 or 3 columns of type on page and includes pictures or artwork to break up the type? Or will it be more in a letter format like Kipling and Washington letter? Will it be 8.5 by 11 inches in size or bigger or smaller? How many pages will the newsletter be? The newsletter will need to be long enough to make your subscribers feel they are getting their money's worth without being so long you can't field every issue. You'll want to consider postage cost too in planning the size of the newsletter. Will you accept advertising? Most newsletters don't accept advertising, but some publications that call themselves newsletters do. Your decision will affect prescriptions, prices, and length, style, and possibly the content of the publication. How will you market the newsletter? How do you plan to get subscribers? Will you advertise? Will you go direct mailing? Will you post samples of the newsletter on electronic bulletin boards? What will marketing cost? Could you publish and continue marketing if you get less than 1% response to your initial marketing efforts? Even though your newsletter may be the best around in your field and your target, your market carefully. Your response could be as low as 1% or even lower. What will you charge for the subscriptions? Prices will need to be based on realistic estimate of all your costs for getting all issues to the customer. The profit you need to make over the amount of time and how much customers will be willing to pay for your publication. How many subscriptions will you need to break even? How many to make a profit on all your costs? Don't forget to figure in the cost of marketing, postage, and phone calls along with your other costs. You need realistic figures to determine pricing and whether or not to proceed with the publication. How much time are you willing to devote to the newsletter? Unless you have money to hire people to write, edit, typeset, and design the publication, the newsletter is likely to consume every spare minute of your time. Are you willing to devote that kind of energy to it? How long a turnaround time do you need to allow? Remember to determine how much time it will take from the time you write and do layouts for a newsletter until you can get it printed, folded, mailed, and actually delivered to the reader. Can you afford to market and publish a newsletter for months without a profit? Be realistic. Work out all of these figures before deciding whether to go ahead with the project. Remember, marketing will have to be an ongoing effort, not a one-time event. You will have to plan for the expenses of printing newsletters, printing sales and marketing literature, and mailing both, as well as the cost of doing mailing to get subscriptions renewals. Do you have the skills to do any writing, editing, layout, design, design you plan. Computer equipment greatly simplifies some of these chores, but only if you have the basic writing, editing, and production skills, plus experience using a computer and page layout, desktop publishing software. If you do not have this background, the going will be rough with or without a computer. Do you have a method for tracking subscribers and expiration dates, printing labels, and mailing newsletter renewals? You should have all these detailed worked out in advance. Don't wait to figure out how to use your database until subscriptions start coming in. Get it all set up in advance or have someone who is experienced do it for you. How can I make money as a freelance writer? There are many different ways to make money as a freelance writer. People who write magazine articles and books often start out writing for publications in their spare time. Some have full-time jobs as writers in industry. Others are independent contractors who write advertising copy, do publicity for business, write technical documentation, or do other writing chores to keep up a steady income. Those who just write books and magazine articles or short stories usually have years of experience as writers and frequently have several books in print. If you are just starting out, it helps to have a specialty and to realize that you may have to do some writing for very little pay just to get published. Once you get published, you will ideally be able to use copies of published clips plus good ideas and writing skills to get better paying assignments. You will also have to consider the market when you write. You may be the world's greatest writer, but if few people besides you are interested in the subject matter of your article, story, or book, you won't get any traditional publishing companies or magazines to publish it. What about self-publishing books? Can I make money doing that? You probably won't get rich, but you can make some money. Self-publishing your books, if you have a clear target market, can write well and put a lot of effort into marketing and promoting your book. Neil Tarvin, owner of Garrett Press, Ltd., a Tulsa, Oklahoma company that helps self-publishers get their work into print, agrees with self-publishers need to be able to write, to deal with people in graphics and printing industries, and to market their work. But he says, above all, it takes a great deal of communication. It takes a great deal of commitment. You will be spending time and money at every step of the process, and you simply can't let down on any of them. Careful planning is essential if you want to make a profit. You need to carefully choose a subject based on who you can sell the book to. The better you can determine who will buy the book and what specific channels you can use to reach potential customers, the more likely your success at self-publishing. Nonfiction can be targeted to a specific group of people. It's the best self-published, says Tarvin. Mass market books are difficult for self-publishers because the distribution system that large publishers have is just not available to self-publishers. You also have to watch cost. Production costs can be kept to a minimum, he says, if you learn to negotiate. People think printing prices are carved in concrete and that it is a price, says Tarvin. But just knowing that the business is feast or famine can save many hundreds of dollars. Get a bid from a printer during his famine phase, and you'll save an easy 20%. Negotiate a little, and you can boost that savings to 30% or better. Make a deal with a typesetter to input your own copy, or a desktop publish, and have Service Bureau play out the type for you on a photo typesetter. A 200-page book, softcover, 5.5 by 8.5 inches, will probably run around $4 each to print in lots of 500s at standard prices. Negotiating and creativity can put your costs to $2.50 to $3.25 each. Photos and drawings, etc., will add to those costs. Can I do my own printing and production with a laser printer and binding equipment? Some people do that, but your book may not look as professional as some customers will expect, and therefore you may not be able to sell it for very much. By the time you add in the cost of the laser printout or good for photocopies of laser printouts, the binding material and cover stock, plus your time to prepare books, your cost might wind up being higher than if you paid to have the book professionally printed and bound. I've got a computer. Would desktop publishing be a good business to start? People who create successful desktop publishing businesses often work in advertising or graphic arts for many years before launching their own business. That's because desktop publishing really isn't a business. Instead, the term means using a computer and a computer software as a tool to simplify some production chores in the creation of print publications, slides, and multimedia works. If you have experience doing typesetting or commercial art and want to start your own service, it is almost imperative to have desktop publishing tools available to you. If you have no experience in typesetting, commercial art, or related fields, however, buying a computer and a desktop publishing software is not going to put you into business overnight as a desktop publisher. Typesetting, layout, and design all require specific skills and training. While these skills can be learned, it takes time to acquire the basic manual skills and hand-on experience needed to know how to create professional-looking documents. In addition, you will also need to spend time learning to use page layout and art programs. These programs are quite sophisticated and, as a result, have quite a steep learning curve. If you think you would enjoy using a computer to do typesetting and commercial design work, you should get the training before investing in the equipment. Training is often in night courses at two-year colleges and technical schools, and sometimes in adult education classes at high schools. Can I make money screen printing t-shirts? Screen printing t-shirts and other garments have been a lucrative business for some entrepreneurs. There are companies that started out as home businesses and within a half dozen years were taking orders for thousands of shirts at a time and were grossing several $millions a year. There are also businesses that start in a basement or small storefront and never do much more than break even if they do that well. Can I get started in screen printing at home without spending a lot of money? The startup cost depends on the capabilities you want and whether you can locate used equipment to buy. You can operate out of your basement or garage if zoning laws don't prohibit, but your production will be small compared to that of large screen printing shops. If you are content to do one-color designs, if you're content to do one-color designs with water-based ink, if you are handy at carpentry, a couple $100 will get you started, says screen printer Ray Dittmeyer, who is in charge of production for t-shirt designs in Kentucky. He adds, however, that the guy with the real shop can print more elaborate designs with more colors. How can he can work faster and more efficiently for all but the simplest designs. He can probably produce a noticeably better print. Although you may be able to price your screen printing service lower than the person with better equipment, you will need to screen a lot of t-shirts to make enough money to support yourself, says Dykmeyer. You can't go out and be a salesman and do the production work. There just isn't enough time, no matter how dedicated you are. How long does it take to screen print a t-shirt? To some extent, it depends on the equipment. Detmeyer says that in his shop, the easiest job, black ink or on a light colored shirt, can be done at the rate of about 12 dozen an hour. But sometimes something like a 6-color design on a black shirt can slow down the work to only a couple of dozen or fewer an hour. That's important, he adds, because you have to have some idea of how long a particular job is going to take in order to price it properly. Many companies that started as basement operations were run by husband and wife teams. They expanded and bought equipment and hired employees as they could pay for it out of the business. You can buy blanks, plain white or colored shirts from any distributor for about $2.50 each and up, depending on the quality and quantity of shirts you buy. Who buys printed t-shirts? Printed t-shirts are purchased by a wide variety of businesses and individuals. Businesses often purchase screen printed t-shirts for their employees to wear on the job. Churches, schools, civic groups, sports teams, restaurants, and even radio stations or banks are all potential customers too. The screen printers who make it big, however, are those who go after and get orders from large businesses, universities, and national catalog companies, and those who become licensed to print major sports team logos. T-shirts aren't the only items these companies screen print. Most see themselves as being the screen printing business rather than the t-shirt business. T-shirts, because of stiff competition, may make up to 20 to 40% of their business. The bulk of their business often comes from screen printing and other types of items such as baseball caps, sweatshirts, jackets, and apparel, as well as advertising specialties that are not garments. In fact, one screen printer shifted his emphasis from screen printing t-shirts to screen printing with inks that contain silver and conduct electricity onto electronic membrane used in the touch panel of photocopies and other electronic goods. Can I make money just selling the t-shirts without doing the screen printing myself? Yes, there are people who do that, and as Detmeyer indicates, it can benefit the screen printer shops too. The entrepreneurs get the orders, but buy the shirts themselves to keep costs down, and then bring the shirts to the screen printer for printing. If you are good at sales and have a good screen printer who can fill the orders quickly and competently, you can make money just handling the sales. What's the difference between screen printing companies that make a lot of money and those that don't? Among the factors that seem to work against screen printers who don't do well are competitive undercapitalized, lack of equipment, lack of time, or the inability to reach wholesalers or buyers who can give out large jobs. The businesses that are successful in this field generally are those that were started by at least two people who were able to expand their company gradually using profits to buy new equipment, move to bigger quarters, and hire staff, eventually enabling them to take on large orders from major corporations. What does it take to make it as a consultant? The key to success as a consultant are knowing your industry inside and out. Take the time to know what your clients want and delivering what your clients want in a professional way. James A. Smith, a Chicago resident who has worked as an independent consultant to radio stations for more than 11 years, say that in his field, a consultant needs an understanding of how radio stations operate, particularly with a given format and a given market size. The needs of a country music station in Wisconsin are obviously going to be different from those of a rock music station in Detroit. To make money as a consultant, Smith says, you need to be doing the following. Number one, keep the customer satisfied. Number two, remember you are just advising others how to do things. You are not in control. 3, agree in advance on the goals, expectations, and methods of measuring the success of your work. Number 4, don't try to change too much or too little in the client's operation. Number 5, don't bite off more than you can chew or let yourself stagnate in a changing field. How do you put those precepts into practice? Whether you are in a radio consulting, management consulting, computer consulting, or any other kind of consulting, the way to put theory into practice is to first be an expert in what you do and then to bend over backwards to satisfy the client. Jose Kirchner, a corporate consultant and human resource trainer in Carmichael, California, describes this scenario as being typical of the kind of effort needed to create a workshop series for one of his clients. I get a request for a workshop such as a series of 5 2-hour briefing workshops on sexual harassment. The target audience is supervisors and managers of all departments. They hired me because word of mouth in a neighboring city said I do it right, and their employee assistant program uses me as a trainer a lot. I contact the program manager for their employee assistant program, EAP. He tells me the supervisor do not utilize EAP or its managers consultants for corrective actions to the extent other city governors do. He wants me to clarify the role of management consultants. And how they can be of help in a case of possible sexual harassment early on before it actually becomes sexual harassment if possible. Contact with the personnel director will tell me a bit more about what's going on. Is there a policy? Have there been incidents? What are the attitudes? Is there a particular work area where this has been a problem? Is there anything he wants me to cover specifically? Does he agree with my proposed approach? I will also contact the health, safety, and training officer to get more specific information on each department and possible contacts in each. Then I will fine-tune my presentation, create an outline, and add or delete transparencies, which are the main focus point for the audience. I then prepare some handouts and send them for preparation and distribution. After the first workshop, I will consult a bit more, especially the HST office, and make any necessary revision. At the end of the series, I will meet with her and with the personnel director, then give feedback to the training director and program manager at the EAP. All of my contacts are annotated in my client's database. I may also prepare written recommendations and a summary. And all participants fill out one-page program evaluation, which I review and turn over to the personnel director. Obviously, the specific tasks a consultant will need to perform will differ depending on the type of consultant job. Overall, however, it is this kind of client contact and client focus that is required to establish a consulting practice and develop it into a profitable business. How long does it take to build up a good business or as a consultant? Once you have established a track record for solving problems, it will take a year or more to establish a business. Things may be lean at first, but if you continually promote yourself, are good at what you do, and are professional in the way you work, your business will grow. What is an information broker? An information broker is someone who makes money searching for and analyzing and organizing information for customers. Much of the work is done using microcomputers to access electronic databases, but in many instances, computer searches are used to get bibliographic citations only. Actual copies of documents must be retrieved from other sources. What do I have to do to be an information broker? If you are starting out, on your own, you will need to be an experienced researcher. You must know where to look for various types of information. Many information researchers have a degree in library science and extensive library research experience. An experienced computer database user, computerized database make it easy to find everything from chemical abstracts, stock quotes, and verdicts in precedent-setting lawsuits to background information on companies or people in the news, statistics, and demographics. The fees for searching some specialized databases can be hundreds of dollars an hour. However, so it is imperative to know which database to use and how to use them efficiently. Several of the major electronic databases services such as Dow Jones News Retrieval and Dialog hold training courses at various locations throughout the country. An educator, Barbara Quint, editor of Database Searcher magazine, explains that people who aren't professional researchers may not realize how much information is available to them. Half the job of any professional searcher is educating customers about the nature of the information revolution, she says. A good communicator, you have to find out exactly what your customers needs and how they want to use the information, then deliver the information in a format they expect. Sometimes that requires writing reports or analyzing data. A good salesperson, you will have to market your services and show potential customers the benefits of using you to find and deliver the information they need. Does an information broker just resell information they get from online services? No. An information broker helps clients solve problems or answer questions by doing research for them. As an information broker, you are really an intermediary who gets paid for your research skills and gets reimbursed for any cost the online time incurring in doing clients' research. Who buys the services of information brokers? The majority of customers who will be small businesses that can't afford to have their own in-house research library. Typically, clients include attorneys, public relations executives, consultants, or any other business or individual likely to need a lot of varied information and needs it in a hurry. What does it take to get started as an information broker besides research skills? You should know what kinds of questions you are good at answering, and have your people who can attest to your search skills, says Quint, who runs her own information broker services as well as editing database searcher magazine. Information brokers involves a lot of trust, so word of mouth advertising means a lot. In addition, you will need a computer and often a facsimile machine, as well as business stationery. If you are going to start out full time, you should plan on having at least enough capital to go for 6 months without making any money, and should know in advance what kinds of businesses you will target as clients. You can also work part-time on your own or as an independent contractor for larger established information search firms. Anyone serious about working as an information broker should also consider joining the Association of Independent Information Professionals, the AIIP. Since members of the organization are entitled to significant discounts on some of the major database services used by information researchers. In addition, those who are experienced information brokers may also want to be listed in the Burrell Directory of Information Brokers. The directory lists information brokers from throughout the United States and from more than 40 other countries. There is no fee to be listed in the directory. However, you do have to fill out an application form and actually be in business to be listed in the directory. Information about joining AIIP and about getting listed in the Burrell Directory is available by contacting Burrell Enterprises, Inc., 3724 FM, 1960 West, Suite 214, Houston, Texas, 77068. Phone 713-537-9051. Fax is 713-537-8332. The Association of Independent Information Professionals is a volunteer organization whose officers change yearly. Burwell Enterprises is a volunteer who sends out membership information for the AIIP each year. How much can I make as an information broker? Independent information brokers charge an average of $50 to $65 an hour, plus expenses for searches. If a company needs consulting services as well, the fee may be over $100 an hour. Some information brokers with computer data programming skills branch out into setting up databases for their clients. Where can I get more information about the field? The best book for people who want to get started in this field is The Information Broker's Handbook by Sue Rugg, and Alfred Glossbrenner, New York, Windcrest, McGraw-Hill, 1992. Among the trade publications of interest to people in the industry are Database Search, Computers and Libraries, CD-ROM World, and Library Software Review, all published by Meckler Publishing, 11 Ferry Lane West, Westport, Connecticut, 06880 203 226 6967. Online Databases and CD-ROM Professional, all published by Online Inc. at 462 Danbury Road, Wilton, Connecticut, 06897. 2126 203 761 1466. Link Up and Information Today, both published by Learned Information, 143 Old Marlton Pike, Medford, New Jersey, 08055 609 654 4888. What do I need to start a travel agency? To start your own travel agency, you will need to have experience working for a travel agency. You will also need to post a bond with the Airlines Reporting Corporation, ARC, comply with state laws, and get adequate business insurance, something that is difficult to do if you don't have experience as a travel agent. In most cases, you have to have a retail location to be a travel agency. You can also work as an outside sales representative for a travel agency and split commissions with the agency. They do the ticketing and are responsible for the red tape. You just sell. You must be extremely careful in selecting agencies or companies to do this work for you. However, if the company doesn't actually deliver the tickets or the quality of service your customers paid for, you will be sued by the customers. In addition, depending on your state laws, you may not be allowed to sell travel services without a license, even if you are acting as a salesperson for another company. If you do work as an outside agent, the usual arrangement of fees is 50-50 split, says John Van, owner of EventNet, a company in Portland, Maine that specializes in concert trips and other niche travel services. The outside agent generally does all the legwork, such as booking, selling, and small paperwork. The finalizing itinerary is submitted to the agency, who then takes over the reservation and prints the necessary documents. Van, who started his own business after gaining experience and making contacts, putting together promotions for a radio station, warns against ads that claim to be able to put people in business instantly as travel agents. The only way to legally run a full-service travel agency is through affiliation with an ARC-approved agency or by becoming the owner of one. Consult with a lawyer, the local Better Business Bureau, and the Consumer Affairs Division in your state before signing on with any company promising you can be a travel agent. Can I make money selling at flea markets? If you go about it in the right way, you can. John Hunter, who runs Tools and Stuff, a company that sells tools and other items for automobiles, makes his entire income by selling his wares at flea market. One of the tricks of the trade, he says, is knowing your products and learning where and how to buy your goods. Your prices should be a little lower than those in retail stores. 10% or lower works, Hunter says, but the real secret he says, is selling items that are hard to find any price in retail stores. Another key to running a profitable flea market business is to have a wide variety of items in low, medium price ranges. So you have something available for everyone. Hunter usually sets out about 500 different items, many of which are priced at $5 or less. These will help attract traffic to the booth. The small sales add up and keep you from just sitting there all day watching people walk by. Items you choose should not be prone to fading in the sun and should be attractively displayed. You also need to be equipped to cover everything with plastic and secure the plastic with clips in case of rain. At flea markets that have open air booths as well as indoor booths, the outdoor vendors often do better than the indoor vendors. In fact, Hunter says some who have indoor booths rent spaces outdoors as well. Hunter, who travels around the country doing flea markets, suggests looking in Thomas Register of Manufacturers for names of companies that manufactures products you want to sell, going to trade shows and looking for items to sell in closeout news. The biggest mistake people make in working flea markets, he says, is not being businesslike. You have to be necessary licenses and comply with tax laws, and you also have to plan. You can't do anything half-heartedly. You have to run it like a business. If you are business-like, he says, you should be able to gross at least $400 to $500 every day you sell. How can I make money in crafts? There are a variety of ways you can make money in crafts, but for many businesses that sell handcrafts, the profit is low compared to the time expended. The trick to increasing profits is to have items that cost little to make that can be made quickly. Selling other people's crafts on consignment, selling craft supplies, and selling your own original patterns and other ways to add to craft income. If you develop a unique product or design that proves extremely popular and that could be mass-produced, you might be able to make money licensing your design to large manufacturers. Can I run an industrial business from home? Yes. If zoning laws don't prevent you from working at home, if you can comply with any EPA regulations that might apply to your business, chemical distributorship, gold-plated operations, and even machine shops have been run or started in garages and basements of people all over the country. You could also start an industry consulting practice if you have experience. You would need to be a registered professional engineer to be fairly well known in industrial circles. Advertising for their business just doesn't work, says industrial engineer Lou Murrick, owner of Tangent Engineering in Linwood, Washington. People don't look in the yellow pages for an engineer. They call up a couple of friends and ask for recommendations. I speak in Spanish and French fluently. Could I get work as a translator? Possibly, but you should know it takes more than the ability to speak a foreign language fluently to make money as a translator. What kind of qualifications would I need? Gabe Boker, owner of Accurate Translation Services, Inc., in Poughkeepsie, New York, says some technical background and experience in specific technical fields is as important as perfect writing skills. A good understanding of both the resources and targeting language is necessary too, so that the idioms and the ideas are translated without losing the original meaning. You will also need some computer skills and access to a computer modem, fax, and an appropriate dictionaries. What would I find? Where would I find translating work? Translators get work either directly from client companies or through agencies of bureaus. How much would I charge for translating? The amount you charge will depend on where you work. You got the work through a bureau or directly from the client. What language you are translating to and from, and how technical the work is that you are translating. Fees recommended by the American Translators Association range from 9.5 to 13.5 cents per word. The latter for experienced translators dealing directly with clients. Some technical translators make quite good freelance incomes, others don't. Failure may result from the lack of industry knowledge and overabundance of translators or poor skills. Where can I find names of trade publications and trade associations? Visit your public library and look in the reference section of the Encyclopedia of Associations published by Gale Research, the Ulrich International Periodicals Directory published by R.R. Boker. The reference librarian will be able to show you how to use these references and may be able to point you to directories of newsletters and other directories of trade associations or publications that can give you the information you want. While the public library, you may want to dig up industry statistics by reading back magazines or newspaper articles about the field. The newspaper and magazine indices available at most libraries will help you locate these articles. Many libraries now have the newspaper and magazine indices on computer, making it fast and easy to search out articles, and some now have articles on CD-ROM disc rather than on microfilms. The library staff can help you learn how to use these tools if you are unfamiliar with them. How do I find my niche? The secret is to start with what you know or what you like. Learn everything you can about whatever that thing is. You can learn on the job or your spare time, but learn all there is to know about the product, the service, the market, the business in. Then, before you start your business, plan it all out in advance. Realize you will have to work hard and be committed to making the business successful, and that in almost all cases, it will take anywhere from 1 to 5 years or even more to build a successful business. Take a close look at overnight success. You will discover many years of training and hard work went into positioning the business or the individual to be in the right place with the right product or service at the right time.